I think the better play there would have really been to just pressure the enemy tiny mid and
Yeah, because
the Spectre, like,
I mean it can work, but yeah, like if you give Evoker a better start, then he can. Ideally, he would play a bit more aggressive. He's not gonna go Midas and stuff. But
yeah.
let's be honest, most Evokers do that anyway. So yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. So about OD, I won my last two games with OD, but I had a row of pretty weird matchups on the mid lane. I had two matches against Arc Warden, then one against Woodmother, and then one against Visage, and one against Pangolier. And the last one, I think, let me see, was against Skyward Mage. And I felt a bit lost on the matchup against Skyward Mage, and on the one against Arc Warden, and on the one against Visage, especially on the one against Visage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are all pretty good against OD on the lane. Definitely.
Yeah. Maybe we could go over like one or two of these like laning stages just to see if there's something that I can improve on.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if OG could actually win the lanes, but it would be I think nice if I didn't get completely destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, see what was the best thing to do, basically. Alright.
Alright.
So, I hear your recent games. Do you remember which ones they were?
I give you the match ID or
Yeah, I mean, or if you just kind of remember them from the list, maybe. Was it, let's see, the minutes?
takes always so long to load all the heroes. Okay,
Yeah,
the
okay.
Scout Mage one was the fourth, like the one right under the Jack Hero game.
Okay. This is the Skyrath. Okay, yeah, Sky is very annoying mid. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it real quick. So, um, so as an OD, or no, okay, not just as an OD, but in general, against Sky, you have like two main approaches you can take. And that's like if you think about what Sky does, he just has this insane annoying harassment, right? Super heavy single target damage. But his weakness as a mid is that he doesn't have any AoE spells, so he can't actually control the wave very well. His range, animation and stuff is decent, but his base damage is pretty low. Like with a null, he's sitting at 51, so that's not too great. So yeah, all those things in mind, as an OD, you basically have two approaches. Like either you try to play aggressive with Orb and Aura, and your goal then is to eventually get his mana low enough so that he doesn't have that much mana to spam with, and then also because he's an int hero, his right click will also be low, so like that way, even though I mean you're harassing him, attacking him and stuff, but the purpose is kind of defensive, because again what you want to like achieve in the lane is just to have safe farm and not be pressured. Your goal is not to kill him, because again it's a hero that doesn't farm Sky, like he can't go into the woods and farm, and like really his main strength is kind of just he's like an anti-mid, like it's making the enemies mid's game really hard. So as long as you have your game okay and he's not forcing out of the lane, then that's already a job well done for you, because you're gonna outfarm him after that. If he doesn't get kills, he can't farm and come back like that or anything. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's one approach, and the other approach is to just max Astral and play around wave clearing. Basically, focus on just killing the creeps. You're gonna take some damage, but you push the wave, and then you can just back off. You don't take damage because you're hitting the creeps quickly. You're not just sitting there CSing, and eventually, once you push the wave, he has to back off because he cannot tank creeps. He has low armor. But yeah, that's basically the two approaches. And for either approach, I would say if you're going for the creep clearing, you want to get a magic wand fast, maybe even start with it, because you just want to sustain. You don't care that much about mana pool early on, because the null is mostly for mana pool. Okay, so let's go back here a little bit. So this really small move is pretty important. Like, says a lot about, again, like, it's these little things. Like, it's not winning or losing in the game, but it's just kind of important to look at, so you have a clear idea of what you're supposed to be doing. So let's think about it again from this perspective, right? Like, what does Sky want to achieve in this lane? It's make sure that OD doesn't get good farm, right? That's really his main goal.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want to achieve? Get good farm. So like that's basically the condition that you're both like pulling against each other. So with that in mind, how big of a priority would you say it is for you to, let's say, deny creeps?
I guess with that in mind, it's not that high of a priority.
Yeah, exactly, because denying creeps is to slow down the enemy mid, which you don't really care that much about, because again, like, once you get your items, what does it really matter what level Sky is? You just want to get through the lane safely. Or okay, let's put it this way. You can like have a ton of denies and Sky's low level, but if you're losing last hits at the expense, then what's the point? Because you both being low level is good for Sky, because his spells don't need to all be maxed to be strong, and he doesn't need a bunch of items to be able to get kills or to do what the hero wants to do anyway. Whereas for you, if you're low level as an OD, you're kind of useless. Like, OD is definitely a late game hero that needs a lot. So with all those things in mind, like, this really small scenario is still kind of showing of, because what you're doing here is basically taking a very aggressive stance, and okay, you're going for this deny. Now he has 51, you have 57 damage, so chances that okay, you're gonna get the deny if you like time it a little bit. Actually, you only got it because he attacked it. If he didn't attack, you wouldn't get it. But regardless of that, you are like running uphill. There's a new wave coming, and you're tanking the old wave. And like, this is the other thing. It's not just about like this high ground advantage. It's not like only the fact that you take a couple of hits from creeps right now. It's also that at this stage you can't trade, right? Because like he has 2 creep waves, so you're the one who needs to run, and he doesn't need to run. So now I don't know if like maybe not every mid is gonna like realize this in time and like fully take advantage of it, but the point is, if he wants to, right now he can just start chasing you, like hitting you and chasing you, and you can't return any hits at all because there's the creeps. Like, you need to run all the way back at least till here. This takes like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and until you do that, you can't really turn, and he has like basically 2 or 3 seconds of free harassment on you.
Yeah.
So basically, just to sum it all up, like all this complicated stuff, whatever, the main point is you're losing like 300 HP for a deny, and that's just, there's no way that's worth it, because again, you need the like losing HP to get last hits. That's fine, like you will lose HP against the Sky, but losing this much HP when he's still level 1 and you're only getting a deny for it, that's not worth it at all. So yeah, but see, like, he doesn't realize, like, he's taking a step back. Why? Let's say, imagine reversed, like you are this guy and I'm coaching you. I'll be like, okay, why are you taking a step back? Like, there's a bunch of waves chasing this OD, he has to run. Why would you take this step back? Like, he just missed out on dealing extra damage to you. So in the end, okay, you only took, what, like 200 damage, but it could have easily been more if he played it properly. So yeah, now we take it easy a bit.
Noted.
I mean, yeah. So far it's like you're still outCSing him. It's fine. You're bringing the steak and the mango, a little bit of region. It's actually kind of coincidence because I just played a game against Sky. I mean, I was a different hero. I was Klinks, but it's pretty similar because basically, again, like I didn't care much about the like I don't care if Sky has a good game or not. Like, doesn't really matter to me. I just care that I can stay on the lane and get as many last hits as possible and make sure he cannot zone me. So I actually ended up buying like extra. I think I started with all tangos and my own tangos, and then I bought like 2 more sets of tangos and 2 solves throughout the laning stage, like for the first 6 minutes maybe. So I spent a lot of money on regen, but it was fine. I still ended up with way more farm than him because I made sure that every time I was like taking damage or losing HP, I would also be getting CS.
I see.
Yeah. And now, like, one kind of... So the other thing that I mentioned, you have 2 main approaches. And the thing that's kind of... Like, this is the standard skill build, right? Like, this skill build is okay in most matchups, but not in this one. Because if you like remember what I mentioned, like, you have 2 main approaches. And, like, this build doesn't really do either one of them because... You don't have the Astral to push the wave, and also you don't really have the... Like, if you want to trade hits with him, then you could... Like, it's much better if you have level 2 orb by now, because at level 2 orb is when you can actually start doing it well. And since he's a ranged hero, the Astral is not that useful, right? Because, I mean, you can never really Astral.
Yeah.
So, like, to be honest, I haven't personally played this matchup that often, so I can't say like exactly how effective it is. Like, because I'm thinking, okay, like I'm just thinking, maybe you could even go, like, let's say 1 point in aura and 2 points in orb by level 3, because again, like, that's, you're reducing his mana with every hit. Like, he's losing 2 wins, so reducing his mana and you're getting more damage to CS more and stuff. But yeah. But so it's either that or just max the Astral and push the wave, which is the safer play, because again, like, both options have different kind of risks attached to them. Because if you go for the orb build, you're assuming it's gonna stay 1v1. Now imagine you get ganked and stuff, or you have to sit back, or you have to go into the woods, and you don't have your Astral. That feels pretty bad. You're gonna have a hard time coming back. Yeah. So that's where the Astral build could be a little bit safer. But see, like, right now what's going on, and this is like, at this point it's like really, really bad to have the 3 points in aura, because it's not doing anything for you. I would say, like, the standard build for OD should be, and what I do, like, majority of games, unless I have like some specific plan. Like, again, like, unless, let's say this game you have a specific plan against Sky, I want to push the wave, gonna max Astral, blah blah. If you don't have any specific plan, generally speaking, you want 2-1-2 at level 5. Because again, when you get the orb level 2, that's when it really becomes... I mean, you should look at it like how spells scale. You should look at it this way, like, from stealing 1 int to stealing 2 int, like, obviously that's twice as much. That's a pretty massive difference. And suddenly, like, you can actually... Like, it's strong enough to trade with, to be a threat, to tank multiple hits. Whereas stealing 1 int is not really that significant, and it's mostly just for having the bonus pure damage. So
like, you run out of mana fairly quick if you have only like 2 points in essence aura, right?
that's true. If you use it on creeps, yeah, okay. So that's the thing. Like, this build, okay, it's good for, like, with this build, the best thing you can do is use orb on creeps without running out of mana. But even that is like, how,
I mean, even
if you
on
max, like if your goal is to farm creeps, you can also just max astral, and it ends up being like, if you're smart about it, it ends up being more efficient because it's an AoE nuke, right? So
it's true. No, I was thinking about usually my skill build on mid, like against Shadow Fiend
mhm.
or Invoker or other heroes, is like I level up the Arcane Orb and the Essence Album and
Yeah.
skip the Astral completely.
Hmm.
And the thing is, on level 4, I have two in the Arcane Orb and two in the Essence Armor. Then, if I skip the Astral Imprisonment, right?
Yeah.
And I usually harass quite a lot with it, and that works, at least in my games against Shadow Fiend. And then, like, after a while, I kind of like my mana pool, like, it's not like, even with Ring of Basilius,
Hmm.
like, it goes down
Yeah, yeah.
eventually.
I mean, the Basilius doesn't really like, it's not
Yeah,
really about items no, it is about a little bit about items, but yeah, Basilius doesn't help because it's mana regen, and this is one of those cases where, even though, yeah, what you want is long term mana regen, like the most mana regen you're gonna get is from the aura. So actually, what you want is bigger mana pool.
so
Um,
what I usually do is I get myself a clarity or sometimes two clarities.
mhm.
Like when I have time, like when the wave is pushed, for example, and I use them so the enemy doesn't cancel it. Now, my problem in this matchup was, and in similar matchups, is the Scarlet Mage. I think he had a high ground ward somewhere,
Uh huh.
and we didn't even find it with the sentry. I pinged it out, and he could
Yeah.
just easily like cancel my clarities, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that wasn't really like an option, I thought. But I don't know,
It's
like what you do when you're then, like say you went like two or three in Arkino and you went for harass, and that works pretty well usually. I don't know how well it works against Skywrath Mage because he has this stupid slow that
mhm.
makes him not able to get in range. But let's say it works quite well, and then you run out of mana. What do you do then? Like, do you go back to base or do you
I mean,
try?
you can shrine at some point. You could go base if it's really that bad, but it's more about, again, it's just about how much CS you're getting in the end, because that is really your measure of success in the lane as an OD. Um, and it's more like, even if that happens, it's still better than this situation, right? Because in this situation, you you're like not really harassing him either, but like, okay, you have full mana, but you're actually kind of getting zoned. So I mean, if you're spending your mana to have like dominance on the lane, and then you have that for like a minute or two or three, and then you run out of mana, like that's fine. You can leave the lane for a little bit and then come back and have the strength again, because like that's obviously better than, okay, I always have full mana, but I don't actually have control of the lane at all. So then, like, what's the point?
That's true.
Um, and something else to point out is that he's, again, like this also. I mean, this is just a very common sky build, so it's not really like, I highly doubt that he puts that much thought into it and like analyze it like this. It's just a common sky build, so he's kind of doing it every game probably. But just to explain for you, like, if you look at these items, he has only 200 gold. Again, he's not doing it perfectly, but basically, like, he's spending all his money immediately on stat items that, again, give him advantage in the lane. And then if you look at you, you're not doing that because you have 600 gold. Okay, you want to save up for a ring, but like, I can kind of get the point. But it's like, the big difference is, the more you like get these early stat items, like the more you give yourself immediate like edge on the lane. And by going for this, like, again, I kind of get the idea, but it's the reason it doesn't work is that by the time you get it, you already gave up so much that it's not even enough anymore.
That's true.
Um, and yeah, the other thing with OD is, like, again, you can have there's some small things you can do, like, for example, uh, like, to support more like the 2-1-2 build. A lot of people get a second no talisman, or what I personally like to do, I might have mentioned it, but is to just get the robe of the Magi, which you later turn into treads. And the null is 7 int, the robe is 6 int. It's more or less the same thing, but it just gives you that small mana pool boost to keep the orb harass going longer, and the essence aura
Starting
starting.
item?
Sorry.
As a starting item, the rope, or like
Uh,
as an item right now?
as a no, you start with null, and then you get the rope like as soon as you have money, or like let's say
Mm-hmm.
maybe you get some a bit more region, then you get the rope. But here's the key thing, like again, getting it as soon as you can, and that's also why like mid should have courier priority in general and stuff. But because if like it can make such a big difference. Let's say you're having perfectly equal CS, and I mean in this case it's a little bit different, right? Like you're getting the rope because of like what items you're gonna get later, and he's getting talismans because he wants Veil. You could get talisman as well. Like this stuff doesn't. It's not really that important for this specific scenario. But just think about it. Like imagine you have perfectly equal CS, perfectly equal harass. Everything's perfectly equal damage, and then uh, as soon as you both hit like let's say 470 gold for the talisman, he brings the talisman, and your carry uses the courier, so you cannot bring your talisman. And now suddenly he has a like everything was equal, but because now he has one this little item again, it's such a little item, but it's an advantage. And like it all boils down to this whole like fakes. I mean, it never happens, but hypothetical scenario where you just both sit standing still and hitting each other until someone dies and losing all your spells and stuff, items. And whoever is gonna die first, like, is weaker. So what that means is that that's the person that has to back off from the man fight, from the trading hits.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of backing off, they're taking a couple extra hits because they can't trade them back anymore, and then they fall even further behind. And that's what I was mentioning earlier with the creeps here. In that case, you were both level 1. Like there was no advantage to be had because you like the lane literally just started. But you put yourself in a situation where just because of the creeps, you can't return hits. So again, if you're both standing still hitting each other, you're gonna die like 2 times as fast because you're also tanking his creeps. Which means you need to run. And when you need to run, you can't trade because you're busy running. So he gets to get free hits in on you. And then suddenly he has higher HP, like you're half HP and he's full HP. And then again, this time there don't have to be creeps involved, but if you start hitting each other, you're gonna die first because you're half and he's full. So you see how that works, like, and that's why all these tiny details like end up snowballing so much because each one of them like ends up resulting in like one guy having to back off first, and then it just snowballs because you're backing off first. You take a little bit more damage. Then next time again he has an advantage because of that. So again, like if you wanna like if you're trying to really contest the lane, you need to get all these small items as soon as you can because the enemy is also probably doing that if they're ahead. Now you can argue again, like in this case, you don't really necessarily want to do that because okay, you can get like the 2 nulls or whatever, and then the lane is okay, but he still kind of comes out a little bit ahead because his hero is just better at this, like more range, like that's what the spells is good at, his spells. And in the end, you feel like it's not really worth it because you had a slightly better time laning, but then you spend money on stuff like, let's say, an extra region and extra this and that, which you didn't really want to do. And you don't have like the right skill build, let's say, to farm woods. So in that case, again, like you can just take a completely different approach where you're like, okay, you don't participate in this whole trading hits and who's stronger and blah blah blah. And that's where like the Astro build, for example, will be pretty good
Mm-hmm.
because then you're like, okay, what you're gonna do every wave is like hit the range creeps until they're low enough to die to Astral. Then Astral one low HP melee creep, and then maybe hit an melee creep, and you're gonna secure like, let's say with level 2 Astral, you can secure at least 1 or 2 creeps per wave. With level 3, you can easily secure 2 or 3. with level 4 Astro you can easily secure most of them. But you know the big point is that you're not really trading hits in the process with him, so you don't really care that much. Yeah, those are basically all the approaches, and I mean the two main like differences. And like with your build right now, it's kind of like something in between that. I mean, like you are ahead in CS because again he's not very good, and like you're just mechanically you're like out CSing and stuff. But there's not that much. Like there's no clear goal in what you're trying to do with your build and like skill and item build. And yeah, so this is what I meant. Like this situation is obviously super annoying, and it's like his strength to do that. But again, like he's kind of enabled to do it because you don't really have the tools to deal with it.
So basically, I just go max Astral, farm the creeps, and
Yeah, the reason that approach is a little bit safer is because again, like I mentioned, even if someone like then comes to like help him, pressure him, or like let's say the Pudge starts camping mid as well, you still have something that you can do. Like you can still kind of do the same thing, like push the wave, or you can go woods and farm with Astral. And whereas if you go for other builds like that, it's gonna be not that much of an option.
should I like just skip the Arcane off in that situation?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, you'll probably take it at like when I do the build. Usually, what I do is like 3-2, like 0-3-2 at level 5, and then at level 6 you take 1 point in orb, for example.
Okay.
But yeah, the other thing is, like let's say right now, would have been, if you were the 2-1-2 build, you could also have ult right now, and when you have ult, you could actually try to like get some kills here. Although, obviously again, it's not really that worth it against this guy because even though he has -4, you have +6, he still has like more int than you. Or yeah, you have 55, yes, 57, yeah. So ult doesn't really do anything. So yeah.
That's Pudge for you. Always missing the point.
So yeah, again, I mean, you're not like it's not that bad. Like again, if you look at CS, you're ahead. But I do feel it's mostly due to the Sky like not really pushing his advantage either.
Yeah, probably as bad as me.
Nah, I mean not like that. Yeah, like see right now he just like he has the max bolt, so why is he not using it? Like, what is there to be afraid of from his perspective? I'm not sure. And you have the ring, but it doesn't really help because if you do the math, it's like 1.6 int, so it's like 50, 60 int, so it's almost plus 100 damage with spell amp. Let's say about 220 damage per bolt. Like he needs like 4 bolts. 4 bolts is not even half his mana pool. It's not even a third of his mana pool. And with 4 bolts you're already below half and you need to be careful. And the other thing is like, okay, now he remembers that he can do it. The other thing is like, you can't trade effectively at this stage, like now that you're both level 7, because your orb, obviously, the attack range is way lower than the bolt range. It's actually kind of funny, because they're both called arcane, except this is a bolt and this is an orb. Yeah. Yeah, at this point your team is ganking him, and now his game is kind of screwed. But yeah, so it's not really a case of like you playing it. It's not like you're playing it badly. It's more like you're not really enabling yourself to play the best way you can. Or yeah, it's kind of like without a clear goal of what to do in the lane.
I was meant to have this.
And now, Okay, we'll see what. Like personally, I don't like this build too much because again, I favor the Astro so much, no matter what. Like, a couple key differences. Like, okay, then now this especially I don't like. So basically, again, like talking about the points, the skill points. So, what you want from the aura is to basically be able to sustain your orb, like when farming, without running out of mana, right? Now, this also depends a little bit on your items, like how many int items you have. But generally, by building int items, you allow yourself to keep the only 3 points in the aura. Now, the thing with the orb is, I mean, I don't know if we talked about it last time, but in order to like spam the orb without running out of mana on creeps, you need to have 10 times the mana pool that, 10 times the mana cost, basically. So you need 1.6k mana for the level 4 orb. So basically, the moment you skill level 4 orb this early means you can never really use it on creeps, or you're just gonna run out of mana super quick. And the next thing is that, so how they actually scale is, okay, the aura you need just won't have enough. Like, if you have more than enough, then it's a wasted point, right? Because literally the only thing you want from the aura is, like, okay, this spell makes sure I don't run out of mana, that I can use my other spells. Like, that's literally it. With the orb, it's like obviously your fighting tool, like how strong you are and stuff. The percentage increasing with each level, right? Like 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like, it's nice, but that's not really the reason you're leveling it, right? You're leveling it for the int steal increasing. And again, like, if you look at the difference, or like how also it feels in the game, obviously, like, pretty massive difference between the first 2 levels from 1 to 2, and then there's like a decent difference between level 2 and 3, but then the difference between level 3 and 4 is not really there, right? Like, let's say an average fight, you get 5 hits on one hero. Even that's like a little bit optimistic, but let's say 5 hits on a hero. With level 3 orb, you have 15 int stolen. Level 4, you have 20 int stolen. Like, like putting another skill point in it, like, it's not really worth that difference, especially considering like how much you're giving up with the other 2 spells. Now here's where we get to the astro scaling. If you look at how that scales, first of all, damage goes from negligible to insta killing range creep, which is pretty big deal because yeah, like, just how quickly you farm, how quickly you push a wave. You can actually push a wave without committing. You ask for 1 creep, you run away, and then you're gonna get at least 1 melee creep and the range creep, and you don't even have to be there. And then there's obviously the range. It's literally doubles throughout the levels, and again, it's such a big difference. Like, level 1 astro, you can only catch melee heroes if they're already going on you. It's not really a catch, right? Like, a 225 cast range spell, it's not a catch. It's like, okay, it's defensive, basically. You can use it defensively, that's it. Whereas 450 cast range, again, it's not that much, but it is a form of catch. Like, you can actually set someone up. Like, that's something that you clearly can do with a certain level of the spell, and you cannot do with lower level of the spell. Whereas, again, like, compare that to the difference between level 4 and level 2 orb. It's like, what is the difference? Nothing that allows you to do. Like, you're not gonna win some team fight because you had 1 more point in orb, right? But you might win a fight if you can get the astro off or not. And here's the last point with the astro, which may be the most important one after range, is the cooldown. From 22 to 10 seconds. That's more than half cooldown decrease. It's absolutely massive. Like, it's basically, again, the difference between 1 astro per fight or 2 astros per fight. A lot of times even 3. So So again, like all this stuff with the Astro is like so much value, and just having it like unavailable until so long, with the trade-off being, okay, I'm stealing one more int per hit, like it's just rarely worth it. Yeah, and lastly the ult, obviously. Again, against Sky for solo kill purposes, this may be one of those cases where I would say it's fine to not have it early, but at some point when you want to start moving and joining fights and stuff, like again, the ult can be a difference between you getting a kill or not. And also don't forget about the the 40% mana burn on the ult, because that's underrated aspect of it. But if you like click on heroes and stuff, you can actually, you know, it ends up being like a silence, right? If you manage to ult them, they lose mana, they can't use one spell. Again, that can win you the fight. Yeah, and yeah, it's the same reason why also with talents, like very often I don't get the talent at level 10 because I'd rather get another point in one of the spells. Yeah, so now that you reach the point where you can actually, okay, I have 4 points in orb, so I can man fight him. Like now he just deals too much damage and he has like a silence, and it still doesn't really work. And yeah, the other thing is the drums are, personally I don't like it too much in OD. Like drums is mostly a team item, right? Because it's aura and stuff, and at least, okay, there is some synergy between your build and the drums, right? Because drums give you attack speed, you have max orb, so you get more orb hits in and stuff, so that kind of makes sense. But you're not, I mean, it's still not necessarily early, but you're just still on the lane, still on the 1v1, still not really taking fights with the team to make the drums worth it. And that's not to say that, oh, like, you're level 9 OD, you should be smoking with your team to gank or something. Like, no, that is kind of silly. But then you also see like why the drums is a bit weird. Why I find it a bit weird on this hero, because like compared to some heroes that are great with drums, let's say you see drums on Gyro a lot. Now, not like Gyro, you know, benefits that much from attack speed. Like early game, his spells, his damage is from spells, but it's pretty common to be like, oh, I'm Gyro, I'm level 6, you know, I have ult, and you can just smoke or go to another lane and try to kill someone. Like it's an active hero, so then the drums make sense. But see, like now you're farming woods, which, I mean, okay, that's normal, you're OD, like that's what you should be doing, but the drums doesn't really help you with that at all. And that's why in terms of items, and yeah, here's the other thing, I mean, you're getting a little bit lucky with the aura, I feel, but yeah, not really. Okay, yeah, now you run out of mana, so it's, you're missing 400 mana. So with all these things in mind, like the build I find myself going for most often is just power treads into, like what I told you with the robe and stuff, into 4 staff, because it kind of solves a couple of these things at once. Like first of all, the combination of treads plus the staff of wizardry for 4 staff, like together they give you plus 20 int, and let's say you start with the talisman, you have plus 27, and then like that brings your mana at, you know, about enough to be able to like sustain the orb. And then I usually have that with, like, let's say a level 3 orb and a level 3 aura, and I can more or less sustain it. And yeah, the other thing is that with 4 staff is when you can actually, like 4 staff is that one key item that allows you to take fights more safely, because you actually have an escape, you have some kind of mobility. Because right now with drums, you're basically counting on your team a lot. if you get caught like this and your team is not there to save you, like you're just dead. Like, nothing you can do. No matter how much you speed, yeah. Okay, and here's another. I mean, I'm sorry if I sound like a bit. Oh, this is so bad or whatever. I'm thinking of more like reasons and like ways to explain it. But for example, this game in particular, another reason why the Astro is more useful than more points in Orb is because of the enemy team, right? Like this guy has Drunken Haze, 70% mid chance. If he uses this on you, like you can't really Orb, so yeah, your skill is kind of useless, right? Like big part of it, your contribution. Same with Oracle, you know, like he can disarm you, Skywrath can silence you, all these things prevent the Orb. Like Orb is what OD is about and what you like build around and everything. But like that's also why you need, like if you think about it, standard OD build in game, you buy what? Pike, BKB, Blink, right? All these items, their one main objective is let the OD get orb hits in, right? Like that's literally the point. So without those items, against unless it's like some kind of dream OD game, without those items, it's gonna be hard to get orb hits in, and that's where a big part of your contribution is gonna be the Astral, because again, Astral doesn't care about, like you just cast it and that's it. Again, like the more points in it, more cast range, cooldown, like it lets you do that. If he puts the haze on you, you can Astral him, and then when he comes out, it's expired, right, and stuff like that. Anyway, it's fast forward. I don't know if you wanted to do the whole replay or just the lane. But...
To the whole replay, I think.
Sorry?
We don't need to do the whole replay, I think.
Alright.
So, like,
Okay, let's
I think I went the same skill build in the Visage match as well. So, in terms of items, you suggest to start with a no talisman, and then
yeah, then
you skip
a bit more region, then you get the robe. Yeah, you get the robe, then you can finish treads, and then just move into 4-staff.
Okay. What about magic wand?
Yeah, I mean, okay, you can get the... I mean, I'm saying that as the main. Like, of course, you can get magic wand or raindrops and extra salves or whatever you need in between.
Okay.
I was just saying, like, the main role. I mean, magic wand, whether you get it or not, kind of depends on the... But it is pretty good on OD.
What about Aquila?
Okay, so the Aquila, it's not bad. Like, it gives you armor, obviously. That's the main... Oh, this is the Visage game, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, quickly look. I mean, don't have to go that in depth, but just to... And there's something kind of similar, like in this game, is that... in this case, Visage doesn't have a silence or anything, but the Grave Chill slows your attack speed by 64%. And that means you can't actually use the orb that effectively. It kind of messes with you. Okay, but here you did max the Astral.
Yeah, I just maxed the Essence Hour. That was probably a mistake, I'm not sure. But
yeah, I mean, you don't need that many points in the aura first, but yeah, I mean, at least you have the Astral maxed a bit earlier, but yeah.
I think the reason why I maxed the Aura, at least the 4th point in it, was because at that point I already couldn't sustain the lane at all anymore against the Visage.
So you're just in the woods. Yeah, then...
So I went to the jungle, and since I already had one in Arcane Orb, I thought, well...
Yeah, might as well use it, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in general with OD, like, it's good to kind of have it clear, like, how the hero works, and you can also realize, you know, what's good against it, and also how to play around it. But again, like it's kind of simple. Like the point of the hero is getting orb hits in. Like if you land those hits, there's no hero in the game that can tank that because it's pure damage. It's a lot of bonus pure damage. Um, every single hit increases the next hit in physical and in pure damage, and sets up for your ult eventually. But like you should look at it as a Ursa that's ranged, right? Because yeah, every single hit is gonna deal like even more damage than the previous, and it doesn't. It's less, but it doesn't reset when you change targets. That's kind of the big thing.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what is good against it? Basically anything that prevents you from getting the hits in. So, and there's a pretty long list. Like attack speed is what we mentioned, the pretty big one. Attack speed slow. There aren't that many heroes that have it, but those that do, like, really screw you over. Then there is silence. Again, you can't orb. There is mischance. There is evasion. Then there's just like straight up stuns, obviously. Then there's yeah, like kind of dodges or disjoints, or whatever you want to call them, like illusions and stuff. But basically, all those things really make it hard for, like, basically to get those hits in, and that's what makes the hero like hard to play. So I mean, let's quickly go through this lane stage. But that's where you need to have in mind, like, that's why, for example, it's pretty, like, I remember one game, I mean, it was a long time ago, but one game I was playing OD against the enemy team that support Jakiro. And in my mind, I was like, well, you know, this really sucks, because that Jakiro is a support, and he has, like, dual breath, slows attack speed, liquid fire also slows attack speed, and, like, they have a lot of range. He can spam them, low cooldown, and if he just used that on me in the fight, I don't really do any damage, and that's just like a support, and he's kind of messing up my whole damage output. But then, the moment you get BKB, obviously none of that matters, and you kill him in 3 hits, because it's a support. So that's where you want to, like, imagine, like, when is the point that I get the levels and or items that are gonna allow me to get hits in reliably. And I mean, this is why, like, at some point, like, OD is not a solo hero, because you can say, like, okay, I get BKB, I get Blink, I get Hex and Shivas and attack speed items and everything, and then use all your items, 6 slotted, blink in, and then your target gets, like, Glimmer Caped or something, and you can't hit them still. And then everything runs out, and it just feels so bad. So, again, there's, like, too many things, and that's why OD is not really a solo hero, unless, again, unless it's, like, some kind of dream matchup where enemies don't have anything to deal with you. You don't need any items, right? Like, there are games like that, but in most games, like, you will need the help of your team, which basically means, like, someone disabling them, so that allows you to get the hits in, right? Because it doesn't matter what counters they have if they're stunned and you're just attacking. But yeah, so anyway, all those things are what you kind of need to keep in mind. And yeah, against the Visage, basically, until you have BKB, you pretty much cannot man-fight them, because you're gonna use Grave Chill. And yeah, like, there are exceptions, of course, like, he can use Grave Chill on someone else, and then you go in. Or maybe, yeah, like, he's stunned, or, you know, team sets him up, whatever, but that is kind of the bottom line, really. See, right here, as a wave is gonna Grave Chill you, you get maybe 1 hit off. Okay, wait, that was... Yeah, there you go. 1 hit. And then he's out of range.
That was super annoying. I was hoping if I steal some int, then he would have lower damage, because he started with a lot of damage, because he bought these Blades of Attack.
Yeah, the Blades of Attack really, yeah.
Started with like 62 or something.
One thing that you do have going for you, though, is that... Let's demonstrate it. When's the next time you hit him with Orb?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. No, okay, it's not like that. Okay, that's very strange. So, I'm sure it should take off 2 layers because that's how it works against TA's refraction.
Yeah.
The refraction loses two charges for the orb hits. But I guess Dota's a game of inconsistencies, so it does not work like that against the cloak. Yeah, the reason that's annoying is because obviously, like, even if you do get a big int difference, can't really burst him with your ult if he has the cloak up. Still not gonna deal much damage, so yeah. Another thing that's in general just laning against Visage is that, like, there are still quite a bit of heroes that can sort of deal with him on the lane, okay, until we get 6. And when you get 6, the amount of heroes that can actually stay against him are almost no heroes. So yeah, that's why you need to have a plan, like, to keep an eye on the levels and when he gets 6. And that's also why it's kind of nice to have a bit of an advantage in XP, because it gives you a bigger window. In this case, he has XP advantage, which means your window is smaller. And that's, again, something that's just kind of about realizing the matchup and what to expect and what to know. Because similarly, like we were talking about the Sky, right? And I mentioned to you, oh, he's only level 1 and you already lost half your HP. Like, you saw how when he gets level 5, let's say, level 3 Bolt, the cooldown is only 3 seconds, deals more damage. Like, that's when it starts getting hard for you to stay on the lane. But at level 1, the Bolt is 5 seconds cooldown, and it deals the least damage. So that's when you still have your, like, see, by knowing, like, when the enemy becomes strong and when they're not strong yet, then you know when you can play aggressive and when you shouldn't try. And I mean, don't feel bad, like, these things come with experience. Like, I can say personally, like it takes a lot of errors until you know, finally reach this conclusion on your own. Like, that's why I'm helping out by just telling you. But I can tell you, for example, when Puck was popular as a mid, and be playing as Puck every second game, it will happen so many, like, it probably happened 50 times, and not just in Pulse but also in team games. Like, I'm laning against Puck, trying super hard, doing okay, nice. Then Puck gets level 6, I get coiled, one support comes and I'm dead. And I'm like, oh, I died because he's level 6. And, like, this was my 50th game against Puck. Like, I know what his ult does, but it just kept happening. And then, again, it took so many games, and at one point, finally, I, like, started not waiting until he's level 6 and then dying and then saying he's 6, but I actually said, okay, guys, Puck, you know, hit level 5, let's say 1 or 2 waves ago. He's about to be level 6, so I can't stay on the lane anymore, or I'm gonna die to coil plus rotation. And, you know, there's 2 options. Either I go woods and someone else takes the lane, or I can bait and you guys sit behind me. I mean, of course, this is a bit, like, you have that option because it was like a team game. Let's say in a pub, okay, it's hard to say, like, oh guys, I'm gonna bait, you know, sit behind me. But whatever, like, you can just go woods. Like, that's the simpler thing. And yeah, so these are just things that you, like, kind of through trial and error, you get used to it. And it's pretty similar with Visage. I'm not sure what he actually did with the familiars here, because he's already level 7. But generally, when he hits 6, it gets really hard to stay against him on the lane. He's not really using them to harass you at all. Okay, now yeah. So see, when he does this, you have no counterplay, and you lose, like, a big part of your HP. So it's hard to stay in the lane. Like, you can't obviously run away, miss all the CS, and then solve up every single time he uses Grave Chill and hits you with familiars.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you need to find some solution. But, and like this game, let's say there's a DK on your team, you know, DK casually 15 armor, 17 regen. Like, he doesn't care about the familiars, especially if he uses the breathe fire, even more damage reduction. So he can just stay on the lane, no problem. Same with TB, naturally sitting at 17 armor. He also hits really hard against the familiars. So yeah, like these heroes, you can just swap lanes.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, you might be noticing like a lot of this stuff, it's like, it's not really about being an OD player, right? To know that it's more about being knowing how to play against certain hero. But that's why, like, that's why there's this thing where, you know, there's people that spam heroes, like only play one hero, but a pro player with, you know, much lower amount of games on that hero is still gonna be better on that hero because just understands the situation better, understands what has to be done. Because again, by spamming one hero, you're gonna figure this stuff out, but it's only gonna be in relation to my hero. Like, as an OD, I can't stay against X on the lane after, but but that's not really, like, it doesn't give you that good knowledge of the game. Whereas, let's say with the puck example, like, it's a thing about puck, and it affects which heroes, basically every hero that cannot escape the coil. But then you have some heroes that can, and you know, they are fine. So for example, Void is pretty nice because Void doesn't care, you can jump through the coil, and then that way you get much better understanding of the game. And like, also if you play that hero later, you know when not to, and also for your own heroes, you kind of know how to play around it. And again, like, it's fine to mostly play the same hero, but it's just, you can still get really good at it, but it's about also understanding how other heroes work and what you can do against or what you cannot do. So again, I mean, this lane, like, you already left it for a while and you're still ahead in CS, so it went quite okay. Like, you didn't make any massive mistakes or anything. It's just, it could be a lot better for you too, I think, if you also just get the different items. Because really, like, again, drums is kind of a timing item, and I don't see what timing you're really gonna hit. I mean, I don't know, it's not terrible, like, it's not wrong per se. You have a DK, yeah, like, if you now go with the DK, or tell him like, alright DK, with your next ulti, let's go for mid tower, have drums, can fight, like, then it's okay. But, you know, TPing to farm jungle camps with drums, then it doesn't really make sense, because, okay, well, what is the drums for? or you're not gonna pop a drum charge to get the camp faster, right? Because they're limited. If they were unlimited, you know, then maybe it would make more sense. Yeah. Alright. So yeah, I mean, you asked about lane stage, but we kind of talked about more stuff in general, like, also a bit, because itemizing, like, for the lane, in a lot of cases, if you cannot itemize in a way that's gonna let you, like, dominate the lane, then you need to just think about what you want to do next and itemize for that, or with that in mind. So
what would you do? Would you buy against Visage? So, like you said, it's important to get like the early game advantage. You just go for the items that you go in the other matchups, or
yeah,
do
I
you
mean,
do like,
that's why I feel like with the other build, you can't really go wrong with the robe into treads into staff, because it's kind of like, if you're contesting the lane, it's still good to have the treads, right? And the robe gives you the early mana pool boost and slight damage boost so you can spam orb and trade hits. And also if you go to farm woods, again it helps because mana pool, attack speed to kill neutrals. But yeah, again against Visage, like it kind of doesn't matter what build you went. Like it's the same with Aquila. Like it's armor, which is nice, and for example, it's good against TA because TA is nice against OD, but then like we said, the orb takes 2 refraction charges. So you know, even though she's blocking damage, you're still stealing int, and then your ulti hurts. You can kind of set her up with Astral. She's low range, blah blah. So that matchup is like you can fight it, you can contest her, and that's where the Aquila gives you like a small boost because her damage is physical. Now, in Visage case, his damage is also physical, right? I mean, he doesn't even skill his nuke. Like he's maxing the Grave Chill on the passive, so his damage is entirely physical as well. But if you see this scenario where you can't even hit him back because the attack speed's low, then what's the point of having bonus armor when you're still not gonna win that trade just because of this one spell? So in that case, it makes more sense to itemize not for the lane, but for what you're gonna do after. Like, okay, am I gonna catch up in the jungle? Get items for that. Am I gonna, you know, maybe go to a different lane, try to contest some towers, you know, get items for that, and you know, just try to think that way. And you also, like, you'll notice that a lot of the times, Force Step ends up being the kind of answer to everything, because let's say you decide to pressure some towers with your DK, and then you know maybe they try to kill you. Like Force Staff is basically your escape ticket. You know, you get charged, you astral him, you Force Staff out. The Visage can't really, even if he gets the Grave Chill off, he can't really chase you after the Force Staff. So all those things really help.
Okay.
If you want, we can try maybe like a couple quick 1v1s with these matchups. Maybe that helps, like, might help you see like how it feels with different items, different skill builds. Doesn't have to be like the full 1v1 or anything, just all you really need is like 4 or 5 minutes.
I mean, if you want.
It's up to, I mean, it's up to you. You're the student. Let's do like, okay, let's do at least one. I'll make a lobby. Okay, we'll just do Devourer as the password. And the name is, I mean, I can actually, what am I saying? I can just invite you. Way easier.
I'm already there.
Alright. Okay, I'll turn off the screen sharing. Okay, I don't know if you've done one once before, but it's we do alt pick and cheats on, so you can make a, if you type create hero lich, it's gonna be a bot lich, so you can use that to, like, he's gonna buy the courier and you can pull yourself tangles to make it as realistic as possible. Okay, so let's do the sky one. And also you'll notice that, like, let's say, again, I will be playing this matchup a lot more aggressively than that guy, because I'll realize that, like, if I'm just sitting back and farming and you're also farming, then there's gonna come a point where you come with BKB and you can kill me in 2 hits. And I can't farm the jungle as fast. I don't have anything AoE. So my timing to pressure you is really early on. So I'm gonna focus on that, and I'm gonna put a bit less emphasis on creeps. Okay, so this is what you type. Or I don't know if you're familiar with it, but Yeah, you got him.
Prepare for battle.
Good luck, have fun.
Didn't keep, but
Yes.
We can do with both having a ward or neither of us having a ward. What do you prefer?
Consider the
I
consequences.
think I prefer having a ward.
Having or sorry, I didn't.
Yes, with ward.
Okay.
You've thought this through?
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, let's just both place it. I mean, usually I wait a little bit before placing it, but it lasts 6 minutes. We're not gonna play for 6 minutes anyway, so just placing it right away on high ground,
Seconds to battle.
so you get like a little bit of enemy high ground vision.
Just so. Undoubtedly.
The battle begins.
I am sworn to turn the tide wherever I can. As it is in my power. As I will. My power is summoned. Hiya! Attack! Rah! It is right. You'll have no cause to question me. I'll break their wings. The truth of my heart shall be writ upon the skies. Forth and willingly. Who dares fly against me?
Right, that was really nice. You got the deny and the last hit.
I'll bide my time.
That was my mistake there, to let that happen.
The time has arrived. Very well then. Yes. Toward our greater end.
See, what I did here was kinda
To a new
make the
land.
wave still meet near my high ground.
Be it thus. Tis my honor.
It was never
Indeed.
yours.
I go as bid. To a new landing. You've thought this through? By the talons of Striak. Armilla ascends me. Down you go. Higher I soar. As it is in my power. I'm not ready. Hiya! Arcane are my ways. My power rush. Not yet. That may well be. My sword.
Alright. You got too aggressive here.
Then take this as an
Bit
omen.
impatient.
I go as bid. 'Tis my honor. Be it thus. Yes. By my wings. Not yet. Undoubted. You'll have no cause to question me. Yeah. Consider the consequences. I end your life, that something good may begin. You have entered my realm.
So I didn't actually see your items there when you went on me. What did you have?
Boots and a robe of Mecca. My chest.
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah, okay.
It is right.
So I mean that is right, but the move was like you trying to kill me, which was
That was
like
wrong.
because I went for example, you see one crucial difference. I went for raindrops. Like that's a item to man fight with.
I think I should play raindrops against
That's the thing. It's not good against Sky, obviously, because you're just gonna lose them really quick. But then that's also why you shouldn't man fight, because if you want to man fight, you need raindrop.
By the bloody Fenian.
Otherwise, the hero with raindrops is just gonna be a lot tankier and win the man fight.
Being would grow dizzy at such heights. Hiya! By the ancient power.
But do you see how, for example, the increased astral range actually helps you contest me? Until, yeah. So here's where I hit like level 5, level 6, level 7, as it gets a lot easier for me. My mistake was that I tried to go on you when I was level 4 only. So my damage was just not that high. And the other thing is that obviously dying like that kinda relieves pressure from you for a little bit. But then again, it gives me free trip to base, regions mana. It's honestly not super bad because I still did a lot of damage to you in the process, which is again my main goal. Yeah, now it's night
Do
time.
you think with my Astros I should focus more on us hitting you with it or hitting the creeps with it?
So yeah, again, like you can, if I mess up and I'm next to the creeps, like that's even better, right? To hit me and the creeps as well. But if I'm not, like if I'm keeping my distance so you can't astral me, which is what I should be doing, because my spells have more range, then yeah, then you just focus on astraling the creeps. Right. We don't have super much time left, but I think it would be interesting if we quickly play another one where we just swap the roles. I mean the heroes.
I should play Skyward or?
Yeah, like you play Sky and I play OD.
I'm so bad at Skyward.
I mean, okay, it's not about the goal here not to win, right? It's just to kind of
Let's try it.
to get a feel for it. And I mean, maybe it's gonna show you like what I would be doing as the OD, for example, how I would use Astros and stuff. Really, the key thing is that you want to make sure the range creeps, like you're getting the range creeps with the Astral, and that means hitting them. And I mean, this goes for any nuke. Like classic mistake is let's say Lina or Windrunner, they nuke the wave, the range creep is a one hit, and then it just gets denied. And then they keep doing that, they just keep denying range creeps. Whereas all they have to do is hit it once, then use the nuke, and then there's zero chance of a deny.
What is the starting items for?
Pretty much same. I mean, I went no Fairy Fire and Branch, but I think the Fairy Fire is kind of useless. So like maybe no Branch and Clarity is better, so you have a Clarity to go with. And I didn't use a Courier until I got second null plus another Clarity.
Yes.
I remember the Great Hero Lich.
Ill omens.
What happened?
I don't think I played Zero before.
Okay. I mean, look, don't worry. It's not about what you're gonna do with Sky. It's more that you see what I will do with OD, right? Like that's because we're focusing on the OD here.
Okay.
I mean, just do whatever, like whatever you feel like the enemy Sky Rats are doing to you. Oh, for some reason I have your queer. It looks super pretty. Smoggling.
To battle.
Is that like two different particle effects, or is it one?
I think it's only one.
I mean, there's like fire and thing dropping down and black ashes. Well, anyway, it looks really fancy. Okay, so I'm actually trying a even slightly different approach, like which it's not necessarily better, but it just might be interesting for you to see. Yeah, starting with wand instead of starting with null. Wand and my old tangos and 2 branches. So as a result, my damage is way lower. It's actually as low as yours, 51 with null. But yeah, I have way more sustain.
The blood sun rises.
So I remember what I mentioned, what you did really well is that when you astraled me, you were able to get the deny as well as the last hit of the range creep because I was astraled the whole time. So that's what I should also be trying to do. It's obviously harder with the earlier levels of astral.
Fair warning. Yes. On dark wings. Dark auspices. I take wing.
Although one thing is that, for example, you want to avoid. I mean, it's up to you, but like let's say I wasn't using that many bolts until I hit level 3.
Okay.
Because the mana cost doesn't go up, but obviously the spell deals more damage, so it's more valuable to like same mana for more damage pretty much, right? More value.
My wings beat with the rhythms of eternity. Future is grim.
So see, the reason I asked for you there is because
Darkness
when you come out, you're between my creeps, which means you can't turn back to trade because you're gonna tank my creeps. So I get a free hit then. I still didn't do it as well as I could have, because it could have been like 2 free hits. I only got 1. But yeah, you get the idea.
The blood sun rises.
It's unusual for me to play a hero with this high attack range.
I see it. I should really put the talisman components to not be in your backpack, like instead of the tango, instead of the TP scroll.
On a mad wind. Your omens. Fair warning.
So see, exactly what we're talking about, like situation where if we both hit each other, you'll die first, so you're the one who has to run.
I bring
In this situation is what it's all about.
you're insane.
That's
Last
very interesting.
darkness advances.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
I bring dark tidings. The beat of baleful wings. Attack. I can see my home. The harbinger comes.
so here I get basically the full wave with Astral, and now you need to CS under the tower as a Sky, which is not really what you want to be doing.
I herald your destruction.
I could have been trying this a little bit earlier, but now at level 3 Astral, it's obviously much easier. So that's what I'm saying with other nukes, you need to like prepare it, you need to hit first, then use the nuke, the range creep. But with Astral, because that's delay, you can just, I can Astral this one melee, I hit the ranged once, now I hit another melee, 3 last hits guaranteed, and only the last one you can contest, maybe. Maybe you deny, maybe you don't.
So how many healing stuffs did you buy so far?
I think 2 extra solves, I just used the second solve, right? And I think this also might,
Tower is under attack.
yeah, another pair of tangles, second pair of tangles that I got there. And my CS is 25-6, what yours is.
Your tower is under
Minus
attack.
13.
Yeah, so I'm getting more CS and like getting my objective, which is just sustaining the lane, being able to farm. So I'm playing a little bit aggressive. I mean, this is kind of silly because, let's say in a real game, it's very dangerous to do it.
And you just get ganked.
Yeah, in a 1v1 you can, but yeah. I still have 17 wands though, which I'm like saving for a potential man fight. Like that's why you have to run for me right now, right? Because okay, now maybe I have a chance to kill you. Oh, you have Stylus too.
Ah,
Carry
Let
me
them
on.
take this as an omen.
Alright. So, I mean, again, like, don't, obviously, since we're not same skill level, it's not 100% like equal or telling of the matchup. But it was just to kind of give you an idea of how to approach it as each hero. And for example, when you see that, because the way you play the Sky, for example, you were a bit more focused on. No, I mean we can leave this over. You were a bit more focused on spamming the Boltomy rather than CSing, which worked out great for me because I bought the wand, right? Like I mentioned, the wand has up and down sides. Upside is more resistant to harass. Downside is less damage for last hitting. So for example, if I'm the Sky and I see that the OD bought a wand, like I'm still a Sky. I'm still gonna harass him, but I'm gonna put a little bit more emphasis on last hits because I know, like until he gets some other stat item, like I have damage advantage because the wand gives you only 2 stats, so plus 2 damage, whereas talisman obviously gives you 7.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. We had only, so I'm sorry. Yeah, we have 1 hour right today.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It should be over by now.
Yeah, I mean, we went a little bit over, and it's all right. It's I was late, so it's fine. Here's your compensation. Okay, so I hope it was useful.
Yeah, it was very useful. Thank you.
And yeah, let me know when if you want to do more. If you want to do a regular thing, we can. Like if you want to, yeah, like if you want to do regularly more lessons, I can, like we can set up some kind of bundle thing, you know, so it's a bit of a discount.
I already talked to the guy from Gamers and say, I think community manager.
Uh-huh.
He already talked to me about that.
All right.
So yeah, we can do it regularly, like every Sunday or every Saturday.
Okay. Okay, I mean, just think about it and yeah, message me what you want to do.
Yeah, sure.
All right, man. Well, have a nice day, and
Yeah.
for next time, yeah, just try some more of the OD. Try with the different builds, and let me know what you think. And maybe we can look then more a bit about late game, and the like the later different item decisions, how that impacts. You know, like do you go? It used to be very cut and dry, but there are more options now. You know, there's builds like you can still rush the pike, but some people go 4 staff into hex. There is you know, Shadowblade is actually not bad as well. Some games, Silver Edge, a lot of stuff. All right, man. Have a good one. See ya.
Thank you. See you.